In this lesson, we're going to look at doing measurements on some very basic three-dimensional objects. So we're going to look at rectangular solids and cubes. So just think of boxes, and the distinction between a cube and a rectangular solid is just simply that all the faces of a cube have the same area. They have the same size. Whereas a rectangular solid, different faces may have different sizes. So we'll look at two different measurements that we can take for these objects. So first is the surface area. And so the surface area of an object is just the amount of exposed area it has. So think of the surface area would tell you how much wrapping paper to use on a gift box, for example. And then, of course, the volume is just the amount of three-dimensional space it takes up, right? So if I was to fill, say, this rectangular solid with sand, right, the volume tells me how much sand it would fit in that box. All right, so first of all, for rectangular solids, our surface area is a formula that looks really complicated, but it makes sense because all we're doing is finding the area of each face and then adding up all those areas. So when I say 2 times length times width, that's giving me, well, first of all, length times width is giving me the area of this front face. But then the reason there's a 2 there is because there's an identical face on the opposite side of this box. So this 2 length times width represents the front and back area. And so of course you kind of have a similar thing happening with the sides. So width times height, and there's 2 of those, and then 2 length times height, so for the bottom and the top. All right, so that's where that formula comes from. And then the volume is just the product of all these three, which makes sense because we would find the area by taking length times width, and now we're adding a depth to it, right? So then we multiply by that third number that tells you how deep the box is, or how high the box is, depending on how you want to look at it. So and then finally, the surface area of a cube is the exact same formula as we had up here. It's just that the lengths and widths and heights are all the same, right? So it's really 2 the side length squared plus 2 times the side length squared plus 2 times the side length squared, which gives you a total of 6 side lengths squared. And then this volume formula is really the same as that of a rectangular solid. It's just that the length, width, and height are all the same, so it's side length times side length times side length, which is side length cubed. All right, so for our example, we're going to find the surface area and volume of a gift box that is 5 inches by 7 inches by 9 inches. Okay, so first of all, let's look at surface area. So for surface area, we're going to use that formula of 2 times length times width. And it really doesn't matter what is length, what's width, what's height. It might not be a terrible idea just to name each of them length, width, and height just to keep everything straight, but it really doesn't matter at all. So 2 times length is 5 times width is 7 plus 2 times length is 5 times height is 9 plus 2 times width is 7 and height is 9. So then we just need to do a lot of simplifying. So I have 2 times 5 is 10. Write that 7 again, plus 10 times 9 plus 14 times 9. So it looks like we have 70 plus 90 plus, and then 14 times 9, I think I need a little bit of scratch work here. And so we get 126. And so finally we need to add up those 3 numbers. So 70 plus 90 plus 126. And that's going to give me 286. So 286, and since we're talking about surface area and adding up a bunch of areas of sides, that's definitely going to be measured in square inches. All right, so now for the volume. In some ways the volume's a lot easier. We just take length times width times height, so that's 5 times 7 times 9. 5 times 7 is 35 times 9. Probably need a little scratch work for this. 35 times 9. And 3 times 9 is 27, plus 4 is 31. So we have a volume of 315. And remember, volume is measured in cubic units, so this is cubic inches.